It's clear that you're an executive leader, Erica. I've done my research. I've worked with you. You've shared with me. You've built businesses and you've had plenty of failures along the way. And we had a guest recently, Sunil Gupta, Sanjay's brother. You know him, I'm sure. And
Yep.
we talked about failing forward. We've heard that term. And the way, he shared with us how he's learned from the leaders that he's worked with and in his own life that, you know, failure is not really a setback, but as a stepping stone that makes, future success more meaningful. And without these hurdles and these failures and these disappointments and perseverance and the resilience, it wouldn't build the character. And that ultimately has, creates this purpose
Right.
that wouldn't necessarily be as profound. Dial in your research on innovation and collaboration and what role that failure plays in fostering creativity and pushing those boundaries.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts very much with my own journey and story with this, which I haven't shared yet. After I graduated from Wharton, I went to Wall Street. I worked at Lehman Brothers and Barclays Capital. I thought I was going to go become CEO of Lehman Brothers. And in 2008, as we all know, it collapsed, was the world's largest bankruptcy. And so much of what my measures of success were, getting Ivy League degrees at that point, going to a great brand in finance sort of crumbled. And it really led
Sort
me
of.
into disillusionment,
Yeah,
into
yeah,
disillusion
exactly. Yeah.
of what does success really look like. And it led me on my own soul searching journey. It led me back to realizing that in my own journey, my passion wasn't what teams do, it's how teams work.
Now,
And it led,
can I just ask you something right there?
yeah,
So there's the day, I always say there's always a moment and there's
yeah,
literally millions of
or-
moments, but
yeah,
you're Lehman, it happens. I'm just going to guess the moment after that moment, you weren't like, oh, this is a soul searching opportunity. Let's dig into
no.
that.
No, I still have this visual. We didn't know if it was a chapter 7 or a chapter 11 bankruptcy on this Sunday night before it got announced. And so I got calls from my boss because if it was a chapter 7 bankruptcy, the doors would shut like Enron, and you wouldn't even be able to go in to get any of your belongings that were in there for months because of all the legal stuff. And all I cared about were my high heels under the desk, which is pretty funny. So I'll never forget there was media everywhere accosting me to talk, as I was coming in and out of the office. So that was pretty terrible. And I'm still, shocked by those
Yeah.
moments of being accosted by journalists. But
Now, I just wanted to like point that out because I've gone through some turbulence and looking back, I can frame it and extract the lessons and everything. But boy, in that moment, I wasn't like, God, this is such a great opportunity to really
no,
define and
definitely not.
what a new start,
Thought the world was ending. It was
Yeah.
terrible. And then, I went to work for an education company that ended up failing, but I learned a lot about people behaviors and culture. But it was
Mm.
also very difficult. And even after my graduate work, most people thought I would go to McKinsey or go, do that. And I'll never forget, you know, really following a level of curiosity versus a master plan that led me to what I do today. 5 years past that point, I had a dinner with my Indian parents who thought I was supposed to be a doctor, and telling them and my siblings that I wanted to become a keynote speaker. And I'll never forget my father turning to my sister and said, "I think Erica is becoming a volunteer." Like, that's all he knew. He thought I was a
Right.
volunteer.
He thought you were sitting down because you were finally going to tell him what your MCAT scores were.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, barrier
A
can look like a lot.
volunteer.
And it was never a master plan. It was sort of a path where I had to follow trust and curiosity.
Mm.
But I had many highs and lows. And I
And I
think
just
that
want your daughter to know the courage and the self-belief that that takes
oh, right.
because
Yeah.
talk about an unknown and
Ah,
staring
right.
into literal nothing is
That's
that
right.
moment.
That's right. And When you see a world largest bankruptcy, that's tough, but when you hear your own parents sort of dismiss something, that's even tougher.
Right.
So,
And so you were able to, in your research on, collaboration, innovation, and how it fosters creativity, those lessons, you inhabited those that by osmosis were then
that's right.
kind of present in your work.
Yeah, yeah, and have led me to the work I do today, and my parents are proud now, so we've gone through that journey 15
They
years
needed a
later.
lesson in delayed gratification.
Yeah, now they're glad I didn't become a doctor, so that's another story, but I think that the key lesson for all of us is that, our greatest sources of help are where we least expect them, and we have to stay in the game. We have to be willing to be curious. We have to be open to possibilities, and at the end of the day, start with where you're at. Leverage your power of your own unique story, and I don't have sort of the traditional model of a traditional speaker, but I've been able to use my difference to bridge so many connections with companies, whether they were the pre-COVID global company to every company in COVID to now helping companies navigate the digital and AI transformation. And so that I think is a message for all of us and for any team that wants to be able to bridge connection and in a way that maximizes all the differences they have on modern day teams.
It's just such a great lesson. And, I think sounding unconventionally conventional or conventionally unconventional, whilst it's true that you're not a traditional or what the mold of the past traditional keynote speaker is, more and more, you're now the kind of speaker that's out there with these unconventional pathways, building on failures, coming maybe from both the business and the academic world and a
Right.
personal experience of immigrant, literally breaking out of this introvert shell. So there's a lot of little realms that are firing, a lot of pistons that are having that engine drive, and that mix, that paella, although it's a Spanish, not an Indian
Yeah.
dish, or that jumbo or jambalaya or gumbo is really what makes you who you are. And that's what you talk about, how what you just said, how leverage your own uniqueness. And it's
Yeah.
not an easy thing, it's not an
Right.
easy thing to distill what your uniqueness is.
No, no, it's not an easy thing. And I think that at the end of the day, what is this about? This is about helping us all as teams innovate faster and further together. It's about breaking silos, it's about driving growth. But it starts with some of these things that we talked about today that make all the
Yeah.
difference to achieve.